10 innocent people who suffered for crimes they didn't commit. Welcome to Creepshow. Today, we dive into the lives of 10 individuals who were unjustly accused, vilified, or punished for crimes they did not commit. Their stories are sobering reminders that truth and justice don't always go hand in hand. Number 10. Richard Jewell, the hero turned villain. In the summer of 1996, the Olympic Games in Atlanta were marred by a horrific bombing. A pipe bomb detonated in Centennial Olympic Park, killing one person and injuring over 110. Amidst the chaos, a security guard named Richard Jewell discovered a suspicious bag before the explosion and alerted authorities, saving countless lives. Instead of being hailed as a hero, Jewell became the FBI's prime suspect. Leaks to the media led to a trial by press, with headlines branding him a domestic terrorist. Journalists camped outside his home, hounded his family, and dissected every aspect of his life. The FBI conducted multiple invasive searches of his apartment, and Jewell's every move was scrutinized. Jewell was exonerated when evidence pointed elsewhere. The real perpetrator, Eric Rudolph, was arrested in 2003 and confessed to the bombing, along with other attacks targeting abortion clinics and gay bars. Jewell spent the rest of his life battling the stigma of false accusation, a poignant reminder of how quickly heroes can become scapegoats. Number 9. Yoshiyuki Kono, the victim framed as a killer. In 1994, the Japanese doomsday cult Aum Shinrikyo released sarin gas in the town of Matsumoto as a test run for their infamous Tokyo subway attack. The gas killed 8 people and injured 200, leaving residents in shock. Among the victims was Yoshiyuki Kono, whose wife fell into a coma after exposure. Instead of seeking the true perpetrators, authorities zeroed in on Kono. Claiming he had accidentally released sarin while handling chemicals, police spread false information to the media. Articles framed Kono as a murderer, and he became a national pariah. He was hounded, even while lying in a hospital bed next to his dying wife. Aum Shinrikyo's involvement in the Matsumoto attack wasn't fully acknowledged until after their Tokyo subway attack in 1995. By then, Kono's reputation was in ruins. It wasn't until 2003 that he received an apology, nearly a decade after his life had been destroyed. Number 8. Bijan Ebrahimi, a tragic case of mob justice. In 2013, Bijan Ebrahimi, a disabled Iranian refugee living in Bristol, UK, filmed his neighbor Lee James vandalizing his garden. Hoping to use the footage as evidence, Ebrahimi showed it to the police. Instead of taking action against James, officers arrested Ebrahimi, believing James's baseless claim that Ebrahimi was filming children. Ebrahimi was released the next day, but returned home to a mob calling him a pedophile. He made 12 desperate calls to the police, warning that his life was in danger. His pleas went ignored.
My life in danger. Could you please come?
Bijan Ebrahimi on the phone asking for you. No worries.
No, I've no intention of getting any calls from Bijan Ebrahimi.
On July 14, James brutally attacked Ebrahimi, beat him unconscious, and set him on fire while he was still alive. The neighbors watched in silence. Ebrahimi had done nothing wrong. His murder highlighted institutional racism and negligence within the police force. Several officers were later dismissed or disciplined, but no punishment could bring justice for Bijan Ebrahimi. Number 7. Sally Clark. Grief turned into accusation. Sally Clark was a solicitor in the UK whose life turned into a nightmare when her 2 sons tragically died of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. Authorities, suspicious of the rare coincidence, accused her of murdering her children. The prosecution relied on the flawed testimony of pediatrician Sir Roy Meadow, who claimed the odds of 2 cot deaths in one family were 1 in 73 million. This statistic was not only scientifically baseless, but also misleading. Sally was convicted in 1999 and sentenced to life imprisonment, enduring years of unimaginable suffering. Clark was exonerated in 2003 when evidence emerged showing bacterial infections could have caused the deaths. Tragically, the damage was done. The trauma led to Clark's death from alcohol poisoning in 2007, a heartbreaking end to a case defined by false accusations and systemic failure. Number 6. Salahuddin Barhoum, the Marathon Bagman. In 2013, the Boston Marathon bombing killed 3 people and injured hundreds. As investigators sifted through photos, one image, a 16-year-old named Salahuddin Barhoum carrying a bag, was published by the New York Post under the headline "Bag Men," falsely implying his involvement. Barhoum and another man, Yasin Zaimi, were suddenly thrust into the national spotlight. Despite having no connection to the bombing, they became targets of public anger. Barhoum feared for his life as online vigilantes spread his image, accusing him of terrorism. Barhoum was eventually cleared when the FBI identified the real bombers, the Tsarnaev brothers. While the New York Post faced backlash, Barhoum's reputation suffered permanent damage, showing how recklessly jumping to conclusions can ruin innocent lives. Number 5. Lotfi Raisi, the pilot wrongly tied to 9/11. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, authorities worldwide scrambled to arrest anyone linked to the hijackers. Algerian pilot Lotfi Raisi, living in the UK, became an unexpected target. Authorities claimed he had trained the terrorists who flew the planes into the Twin Towers. Raisi was arrested, held in solitary confinement for months, and labeled a terrorist by the press. Despite the FBI determining his innocence early on, he was kept imprisoned while the U.S. sought his extradition. His career and reputation were shattered. Raisi was released when it became clear he had no ties to the hijackers. Years later, he was awarded compensation, but no amount of money could erase the trauma inflicted on an innocent man, scapegoated for one of history's darkest days. Number 4. Christopher Jeffries, trial by media. When student Joanna Yates was murdered in 2010, suspicion fell on her landlord, Christopher Jeffries. A retired teacher with an eccentric appearance, Jeffries was an easy target for the tabloids, which painted him as a sinister figure. Media coverage of Jeffries was relentless and defamatory. Stories fabricated details about his personal life, describing him as weird and obsessed with death. He became a national pariah overnight, with headlines all but declaring him guilty. Jeffries was released without charge when the real killer, Vincent Tabak, confessed. He later won substantial libel settlements from several newspapers, but the damage to his life was irreparable. Number 3. Jean-Charles de Menezes, a fatal case of mistaken identity. In 2005, Brazilian electrician Jean-Charles de Menezes boarded a London Underground train unaware he was being followed by armed police. Mistaken for a terrorist suspect, he was shot dead in front of horrified passengers. Police claimed they had shouted warnings and acted in self-defense, but witnesses contradicted these accounts. De Menezes' death sparked outrage and raised questions about police accountability and racial profiling. An inquest returned an open verdict and no officers were charged. De Menezes' death remains a haunting example of how split-second decisions can lead to tragic consequences for innocent people. Number 2. Oklahoma City's Muslims, scapegoated for a bombing. When the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing killed 168 people, early speculation blamed Muslim extremists. The media and public targeted local Muslim communities with threats and harassment. Mosques were attacked, and innocent Muslims were vilified for a crime they had no connection to. Meanwhile, the real culprit, Timothy McVeigh, was a white Christian with ties to militia groups. McVeigh's arrest cleared the air, but the incident revealed deep-seated prejudice and the dangers of rushing to judgment in times of crisis. Number 1. Timothy Evans, hanged for another man's crime. In 1950, Timothy Evans was executed in the UK for the murders of his wife and daughter. He had always maintained that his neighbor, John Christie, was the real killer. 3 years later, Christie was exposed as a serial killer responsible for at least 6 murders. Evans had been coerced into a false confession, and the police had ignored evidence pointing to Christie's guilt. Evans was posthumously pardoned, and the scandal contributed to the abolition of the death penalty in the UK. His case remains a stark reminder of how the justice system can destroy innocent lives. These stories remind us that justice is not infallible. Innocent people can suffer, and sometimes the system fails those it was meant to protect. If you're captivated by these harrowing tales, subscribe to Creepshow for more deep dives into the darker side of humanity. Let's uncover the truths that need to be told.